One of my clients went from pumping 8 times a day and barely making enough to pumping 4 times a day and having a freezer stash. The difference? She finally understood the best way to use a breast pump for her specifically. The funny thing about a pump is the ingredients are often the same, but the recipe is totally different. You might have flour, eggs, milk, and sugar, but depending on how you combine them and what techniques you use, you could end up with pancakes, waffles, cookies, or cake. Right? Same ingredients, completely different results. Your breast pump is a robot, and that's why 2 different people can have the same pump and routine and have wildly different milk outputs. Let's dive into what this means and some of the things that you can do to find your own pumping recipe. If you're new here, my name is Allison Tolman. I've been in the pumping space for nearly 7 years now, and I've helped hundreds of working moms just like you navigate the confusing world of milk supply, especially when it comes to pumping. If you're interested in what it looks like to work with me and my team, there is a link down below to apply and learn more. I recently spoke with a mom who was completely overwhelmed by pumping, and what she said really hit home for me. She told me, I tried everything. I'm following a Pinterest pumping schedule that had thousands of saves. I'm taking the lactation supplement my best friend swears by. I bought a pump that you recommended on your YouTube channel. I've tried power pumping. I'm drinking the coconut water. I've even tried that viral oatmeal recipe, and I'm still not getting the output that I need. Sound familiar? I hear this all the time. Maybe you've been there too, doing all of the things that everyone says to do, but still struggling to pump enough milk for your baby. Or maybe you are hitting enough, but you're still stressed about it every day, hitting some inconsistent outputs and just trying to figure out, how do I do this? How do I make it more sustainable, more consistent? And can I be doing less? That's my favorite question to help people with, is what can we eliminate that you're doing and make your life easier? You're exhausted, you're frustrated, you're starting to wonder, maybe my body just can't do this. But here's what she didn't realize. She had never been taught how to pump efficiently for her. All right, once we started working together, I taught her what I'm going to share with you today in this video, everything changed. Here's what I wish more people understood. Your breast pump is a robot. All right, it will do what you tell it to do, and it's only as good as the input you give it. All right, it's only going to run the program that it's set to run. Many pumps are very similar. We've tested a lot of pumps and they all have little differences, but a lot of them are quite similar. And it matters much less than you think to find the perfect pump. All right, a good breast pump used poorly is a bad breast pump. And that's why 2 people can have the exact same pump and get completely different results. One person might pump for 20 minutes and get 5 ounces, while another pumps for 45 minutes to get 5 ounces. And some may pump 45 minutes and only get 2 ounces, right? Same pump, different results. Many moms think, I've got breastfeeding down, I'm just going to put this pump on and literally just suck the milk out. I actually thought the same thing when I went back to work as a nurse. I had my own office, a great schedule, supported boss, perfect conditions, but I struggled to pump efficiently. And I remember the day I dropped off milk at daycare knowing it was not enough. I cried the whole way to work and it was not a good feeling. And really that's what led me to do what I do today as a breast pump expert. The reality is that pumping is a completely different skill set than feeding at the breast. They function differently, they work differently, and they require different learning and skills. And here's the key. Pumping is much more of an art than an exact science. I think we have another video on the channel about that. I'll link it down below. But if you think about it, a pump is a machine. And I don't know about you, but I'd much rather cuddle a little baby than a robot. When you're feeding at the breast, a baby naturally varies suction, takes breaks, changes speed. It's random and biological. Pumps try to replicate this with stimulation mode, expression modes, and doing as much as they can to mimic a baby. But they can't replicate some of the biologically formed tendencies that babies do so well. Actually, we have another video talking about the differences between a baby and a breast pump in milk extraction. I'll put that in the description as well. So if I took all of my subscribers, hopefully you're one of them if you'll be pumping, to an ice cream shop, do you think that everyone would get a salted caramel, which is my current favorite? Probably not. Everyone not only responds to a breast pump differently, but they also have different goals and preferences and likes and dislikes and barriers in their life. For some, it doesn't make sense to pump at all, and others are pumping heavily. Some are utilizing wearable pumps, even if the efficiency is not quite there or as good as it can be because they have a busy job and it's all they can do. Others are focused on bringing down an oversupply. There's a wild difference in what everyone is trying to do, and that's why generic strategies don't work for everybody. But here's the problem. Most moms are stuck in what I like to call the spaghetti at the wall strategy, and they're trying all the random things, supplements, cookies, random foods, blue Gatorade, power pumping, different schedules, hoping that something sticks. It's like trying to bake bread, but randomly adding ingredients without understanding what each one does. Random strategies give you random results. If you're looking for control over your milk supply, randomness is not the way to get there. Okay, again, your breast pump is a robot. Okay, so here's what you need to understand to find your own unique pumping recipe, as we're calling it in this video. You need to know how your body best responds to a breast pump. You need to know what your milk supply can tolerate and what it's capable of. You need to understand your individual patterns, preferences, and limitations. And then you need to know how to adapt your approach based on your daily needs, because as you know, life is life. Every day is different. So we've got to be able to adjust and not marry a rigid anything. You don't need to do all the things you see on social media. You need to focus on what actually works best for your body. Efficiency matters, not more time, but smarter strategies. Let me share some real transformations with you so that you know what's possible, and then we'll dive into the areas that you need to focus on learning to becoming your own pumping expert. Okay? We work closely with clients and walk them through this process. And one client told me I was finally able to get 3 letdowns at work, and it felt like a miracle. I only used to get 1 and figured that was normal. Now I'm getting way more milk in each session. Turns out I was leaving almost 2 ounces behind every time I pumped. Another client, a twin mom, said within 3 to 5 weeks, my supply was up to 15 ounces, and she didn't experience pain with pumping anymore. This happened because we figured out her flange sizing that worked best for her and taught her how to pump more efficiently. But my favorite transformation story is about knowledge giving you flexibility. One client shared, I knew I could cheat some days and pump more in the morning, and then if I didn't pump in the afternoon, that was my lowest part of the day anyway, it didn't actually seem to affect my milk supply that much. That knowledge and control gives you flexibility to be able to say, I can't do this today. This one pump isn't going to kill me, and I can skip it. I know how to adjust. I know what it's going to do, and I can make that choice. That's what I want for you too. So how do you become your own pumping expert? These are 5 essential areas that I like to call the Proficient pumping pyramid, which again, we've talked about on the channel before. And this is actually the first phase in a 3-phase process that we take our clients to. But these 5 steps are always where we start, okay? First is milk expression frequency. This is your foundation. Consistent and frequent milk removal is non-negotiable. You can't flood a plant all at once and then ignore it for days, right? One client said, I was pumping 5 to 8 times a day. My schedule was random and exhausting. Once I found a rhythm that worked for my schedule, my supply stabilized. There's no perfect number here that fits everyone, and that's why we work on finding your magic number. And then how do we fit that into your life realistically? Second is flange sizing. A well-fitted flange makes pumping comfortable and efficient. One client told me I'd been using a standard 24 millimeter for months and it took forever to get my milk out. Turns out I needed a 17 millimeter. It's not about getting it perfect. It's about finding what works well for you. And this number tends to adjust over time as well. So it's something that we revisit often. Number 3 is maximizing your letdowns. The most common mistake, probably after using the wrong flange size, is pumping through only 1 letdown. It's like squeezing an orange one time and then throwing it away. You could be leaving up to 70% of milk behind. You need to learn how to trigger these fast and intentionally while pumping. We're going for both speed and efficiency, and letdowns is a big piece of getting that. If you're pumping longer than 30 minutes consistently to empty your breast, this is where you focus. If you're also leaving milk behind, this is another good area to focus for you as well. Figuring out what works best for you. Number 4 is pump settings and techniques. Everyone has the same instrument here, but the way you use it changes everything. One client said to me once, I didn't even realize my breast had just stopped responding to my pump. Once I adjusted my settings, even a small change in suction and cycle speed, I started seeing better flow again. Right? There's no secret perfect settings that I'm not telling you right here. This is super individualized. You need to find both the settings that work best for you and the techniques that best complement your robot pump and make it more human-like. And number 5 are the mental and emotional aspects of pumping. Stress, anxiety, and pressure can literally shut down your letdown reflex and decrease long-term milk production. One client shared, "I did everything right. I had a perfect pump schedule, all the data, but I hated every second of it. Once I gave myself permission to relax and address a few key factors in my life that were adding stress, I actually started enjoying the process and my output improved almost immediately." This area can make a bigger difference than you think, and it's often the most challenging one to identify and work through on your own. Pumping is so much more than just sucking milk out of your breast. And when we remove a baby from the milk removal process, so many things become more manual and intentional. Almost all of these things you don't have to actually worry about when you're feeding at the breast, all right? Granted, there are other struggles that come into play when you're feeding a baby at the breast. Those 5 areas we just talked about kind of go away when you're feeding a baby at the breast. The baby decides the schedule based on their actual needs. No flange sizing is needed. Granted, you have latch to kind of figure out. A baby automatically triggers letdowns. They're not even thinking about it either. A baby controls the suction and speed intuitively. Again, not something that you have to worry about at all. And some of the mental aspects are often easier. You're holding a warm human in a comfortable place and likely aren't multitasking quite as much as I see a lot of moms do while they're pumping. You can see how intentional removing milk with a machine is. It's a lot different than when you're using a baby at the breast. You also have the added complexity of tracking the data. When you can see the ounces in and out, it becomes one more thing to stress over. Another client shared a win recently that really stood out to me. She said, "I know this might be an odd win, but the further I get into the curriculum," she's talking about inside of our program, "the more I'm understanding that I'm going about everything wrong." Why is this a win? Because now I have a better understanding of what is most important to fix first, and I'm so relieved to finally feel like I have answers and a roadmap to get there, and to have things prioritized so I can actually manage those fixes. Now you might be wondering about all those hacks you see online, right? We talked about several: body armor, blue Gatorade, special K cereal, power pumping. Here's the truth. There's nothing special in special K cereal that is going to quadruple your milk supply in 48 hours. This is a legit video on YouTube you can find, and it's wild. Okay, I know it feels like an easy fix when you buy a supplement or a new pump. You get that little hit of dopamine. But if you don't address the underlying issue, you're not going to be able to build, protect, and control your milk supply in the long run, which was actually the topic of our most recent webinar. I feel like the quality of the pump often gets blamed for supply problems because it seems like the easiest fix, right? Just throw money at a new pump. But in my experience working with hundreds of moms in our coaching program, we almost never have to replace the pump to get the outcome we're looking for. Let me be clear, you don't need to know everything about pumping. You just need to know your body. And when you understand how your body best responds to a breast pump, you get freedom. Freedom from constant worry about your supply, freedom to make informed decisions about your schedule, freedom to adapt when your life doesn't go as planned, and confidence in your ability to feed your baby. It can actually turn into a fun and enjoyable experience. And that's what I want for you. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want you to enjoy this once in a lifetime part of your life. You only get one shot with this baby. You only get one shot to make this work. And I want you to feel confident and happy about it. I actually had a client one time say, "I've become one of those people that's like a pump hoarder. Now I have an established milk supply. I feel like I can play around with different things. It gives me something to look forward to while I'm pumping and keeps things exciting and new." We have a lot of people in our free Facebook group that are like this too. It just kind of becomes a fun process. She went from dreading every pump session to actually enjoying it. And that's the transformation that can happen when you stop following rigid schedules that don't actually fit your life. When you start understanding what actually works for your body, when you gain confidence to adapt and adjust as needed, and when you focus on sustainable routines that work best, especially for busy working moms, which is who we serve mostly. One more time, your breast pump is a robot, but when you learn to program it correctly for your body, it becomes a powerful tool to help you meet your breastfeeding goals on your terms. Pumping success comes from understanding the core principles, adapting them to fit your unique situation, having the flexibility to adjust day to day, and focusing on what truly matters most for you. The goal isn't perfection, it's finding peace and confidence in your pumping journey. If you want some help becoming your own pumping expert, and learning to feed your baby on your own terms, I would love to help. There's a link below to apply to work with me and my team. We help career-driven women find peace and control in their pumping experience by learning to pump efficiently so they can breastfeed as long as they want to. Thanks for watching, and remember, you can do this. Happy pumping.